Welcome to Unbundling Embedded Finance, your insight into the future of financial services. Today's guests are Marina Fernandes, Head of Product, and Scott Donnelly, Senior Vice President of Product for Lending and Digital Assets. Enjoy the show. So this is the third episode of our podcast on Unbundling Embedded Finance. And today we're going to talk about competitive positioning in financial services and banking. So I have two very special guests from Solaris with me again today. So Scott and Marina, would you please introduce yourselves and just say a little bit about what you do at Solaris?
Sure. Yeah, I can start. So I started at Solaris 6 months ago. I'm the Senior Vice President of Lending and Digital Assets, which are two totally separate things. But so I'm running two business units essentially. Prior to that, I ran an SME lender in the Nordics that was operating in 5 countries called Capital Box. And then prior to that, I worked in data science and credit scoring and marketing analytics and that sort of stuff. And originally from New York, lived in California for a long time, and then been in Europe for about 11 years.
Thanks for that good introduction, Scott. Marina?
Yes, Marina, nice to be here as well. I'm head of product in Solaris. I've been in Solaris for 4 years already, a bit more than 4 years, always working in product. Right now, our team is basically responsible for everything related to digital banking accounts and transactions, so payments, what goes in and what goes out of the accounts and the processes related to those. Background is also still banking. I'm originally from Brazil. And I worked in Brazil in Itaú, which is actually the biggest private bank in Latin America, where I also worked in product, then also on accounts, and then came to Solaris for 3 years afterwards.
I always noticed what I like about Solaris is there's so many nationalities, which I think is really awesome. Well, anyway, let's get down to the matter at hand. So just to kick everything off, how can you best position yourself in today's very competitive financial services market? Marina, can you answer that? Give us your thoughts on that first.
It's not an easy question, especially with the rise of technology, digitalization, movement away from the branches to the apps. It's natural that there are many players in the market right now that really want a piece of the banking industry. So positioning ourselves, it's not easy. It's quite tough. But I think the key is to have a customer centricity, so to have an offering that's really focused on the customer, that is also connected to a powerful brand that connects both the bank and the customer together. So making sure that you provide, let's say, the set of features, the information, and the tools to give what your customer need. And by giving what your customer need, you really need to know your customer. So segmentation here is also quite useful and quite powerful, to basically give the information and the tools that your customer needs to give them power to do what they want. So examples here is like giving the power for the customer. What are the cards and what are the accounts that they want to open? Do I want to open an account for a specific purpose? Do I want to connect my card to a specific account? So giving the set of information and the set of tools for your customer to basically solve their problems is really key here.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that thorough answer. Scott, what's your take on this?
Yeah, I think definitely. This is what I like about the Solaris business model is, so if you're a typical fintech that's marketing directly towards consumers or directly towards the business, small businesses or whatever, it's definitely a battleground. If you're dealing with advertising on AdWords, comparison sites, all this other stuff, it's sort of a race to the bottom in terms of acquisition costs eventually. I mean, classic business school problem. Like eventually the competition creates zero profit because of the acquisition costs being so high. So, I mean, the Solaris model is essentially we go to people typically who have already existing customer bases and enable them to offer financial services. So they have their customers already, but we help them bring a new sort of value add and monetization stream to those existing customers, and you circumvent essentially this sort of mud fight in the street for like AdWords ads and all stuff, which I've done. I worked for a direct lender in the past. I know lots of people who do, and that's one of the things that drew me, I think, to the Solaris business model. I think it's how do you add this stuff into already existing ecosystems and customer networks.
Oh, thanks for that answer. So kind of following up to that, where's the innovation happening in this space in terms of like propositions?
I mean, I think in the SME lending space, I mean, we're seeing, buy now, pay later has been maybe like the macro trend of the past few years. I think now we're looking at like revenue-based finance, which is leveraging the API access to a lot of existing platforms. So if you have a small business and you have income streams from a POS provider, Shopify, Amazon, Etsy, or wherever it is, right? We can connect to that sort of information, get a really accurate real-time picture of your revenues, how they fluctuate, how they're going in real time, and offer credit and adjust the credit based on that. I mean, I think that's definitely something that's getting a lot of investment currently and moving forward. And it's interesting because it's a really good way to use unconventional data to underwrite small businesses, which are tough to underwrite in general. And it'll unlock a lot of money, I think, in that space over the next coming years. And then, the other thing is the existing neobanks really starting to offer a much wider range of services. Like N26, Revolut, whoever else, and Vivid, our current one of our clients currently. It was basically current accounts, but now there's lending, crypto, insurance, all this other stuff sort of coming in. These are really becoming one-stop shops for consumers for financial services, and I think that's just going to continue and give the incumbents quite a run for their money.
Yeah, I agree with that. So essentially, two things that I also see, also connected to what Scott just mentioned. One is how to expand your product beyond banking, right? So not only offering, as Scott mentioned, the accounts on the app, but also how to expand this to the offering, connecting all the other payment possibilities, also expanding this even beyond payments, adding experiences on traveling, adding experiences on savings, and basically expanding the offering there. That's one thing. And the other trend that I also see happening quite a lot in this market today is verticalization, is how to specialize in the really specific segment so that you could actually offer the best tailor-made product for that segment and for that niche. This is also a trend it's basically putting the customer front, like knowing exactly what that customer essentially needs and offering this for them. Let's assume that a business is basically focused a banking business is basically focused on e-commerces and only really offering the best banking services for e-commercers, or offering the best product for people that are actually traveling quite a lot. And this is also quite innovative those days.
Well, thank you for that answer, Marina. Are there any verticals that Solaris specializes in, or does it serve clients across different verticals like e-commerce, neobanks? Because Scott mentioned neobanks as well.
I think that's the beauty of Solaris. Solaris is a platform that is actually quite flexible, and that will basically empower our partners, basically our clients, to focus on the niche they want to. So our platform is basically quite neutral to that segmentation. And we allow every partner to essentially choose what is the niche and what's the segmentation that they want to focus on. And that's one of the reasons why I also chose Solaris, is the how neutral and how powerful that we can be, and how we can empower our partners to basically be the owner, not the owner, but basically be the specialized partners on the clients and empowering their clients as well.
I know, that's nice. So if I have that right, so the clients can basically own that sort of front end customer experience. You provide like the rails.
Exactly. We provide the platform, the banking license, and all the tools that will empower basically our partners to provide the best experience for their customers, and the tailor-made experience for their customers as well.
Oh, great. That's fantastic. So in this kind of very competitive financial services market, how can you develop a differentiated value proposition and business model? Scott, can you take this one first?
Yeah, I think, like Marina said, I mean, we're really just trying to empower the partners to be able to offer things. And I think, having an existing customer base in many cases, and then augmenting your services with financial services is becoming already more and more present. But I think that's probably you won't necessarily have to go to the bank anymore to get financial services, and that's going to make it harder for the banks to have a monopoly on this anymore. So I think like putting this at a very sort of easy and simple to use touch point in lots of areas of life in a responsible way, of course, is the direction it's going to go. So I think it becomes, in some ways, it becomes more fragmented and less sort of monolithic incumbents running it. So it becomes a lot of small touch points and competitors. And I mean, I guess we're really well positioned for that because we empower those small touch points and compete with the monolithic incumbents. So
I completely agree. I think that this verticalization is also key. One thing that I also believe that empowers the product to stand out, we tend to think about external factors, right? How what the customer wants, how can I focus on end-to-end experience, the branding and so on. But one of the most important factors to me is how is the company actually structured internally to allow that focus to happen, right? The banking industry is like super vast. It's like banking is everywhere. There's like opportunities everywhere. And it's really easy for banking companies to actually they actually want to actually be able to take an opportunity on every single piece that they see. And I feel that focus and having clear decision-making processes and clear strategy within the company that will allow them to basically focus on that specific niches that they want to is also key here. So also thinking about internally and not only the external world is also quite useful.
Oh, thanks for that. So following up on that, can you talk a little bit more on how to best like tailor a product to fit customers' needs? Marina.
So first things, define what's your customer, right? What is the segment that I've told, I think I'm quite repetitive on this already. Last time that I tell about it, promise of this podcast. First is define the customer segmentation that you need, right? What is the customer? What are the needs that they have? Second thing is focus on the end-to-end experience. And this is really key. Sometimes we build like nice features that are on the app and they are fancy features on the app, but we forget about the experience of the pain. When we're talking about banking, it can be quite painful for some customers. I just told my card got stolen, my account got blocked, I lost my password. Focusing on the experience also to make sure that whenever the customers are on paying, it's exactly the moment that they need you the most. So if you also offer a really nice experience there, that's where you're actually going to gain your customers. So that's also key. So focusing on basically making sure that you not only focus on the happy path, but also on the non-happy path, focusing on the end-to-end experience of the customer. And the third point is like expanding this offering beyond banking, as I already mentioned, right? Like what are the opportunities that I have that I'm offering this product? What are the partnerships that me as a bank can do to actually get the customers even more aligned with my purpose, aligned with my brand, and connected to my proposal, to my proposition.
Nice. Thank you for that great answer, Scott.
yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah, it was a very, very good answer. There's the 3-step program. So this is all, of course, very interesting, but a problem a lot of brands and companies have these days is actually monetizing proposition. So can you talk about how would you go about monetizing your proposition effectively? Scott, let's have you take that one first.
Yeah, I mean, it's different in every sort of segment, but some examples, right? I mean, we have a used car platform, digital platform that they make money on commissions, but then now they offer financial services through us, right? So this is, and we keep it as simple as possible. We kind of abstract away all of the complicated pieces for them, so they can just make the revenue, and then we're doing the banking stuff in the background. And yeah, I mean, I think even the sort of more straight fintech offerings, again, like the neobanks, offering overdraft, offering lines of credit and this sort of thing. In the old sort of banking world, that was the point. It wasn't just to create current accounts, right? So I think getting more into the being able to offer these traditional sort of monetizing pieces in the neobank space is what's going to make it profitable in the long run. Yeah, and then also the typical sort of embedded finance piece is increasing conversions as well. It's not only the monetization of the financial product, but also increasing sales and conversions by giving the ability for people to finance things over time. And of course, this is like something that has to be done responsibly. I think it's gotten a little crazy over the past few years maybe a little overzealousness on the part of some providers, but I think, we're targeting in many cases spaces where they're not necessarily entering bigger corporate with like medium-sized companies and that have customers and they need to do trade finance in the middle and things like this, which is not exactly buy now, pay later, but similar idea, right? Advancing money against inventory and things they receive now. So I think, there's lots of ways to do it, depends on the space, but I think, in general, being able to offer financial services for almost any business is going to improve the monetization.
Thank you for those answers. So can you two give us some examples of innovative business models in the industry?
I could start with one. So maybe that's also a bit biased as I'm Brazilian. One of the key ones that I see is really highly is Nubank and how they revolutionize the banking industry, especially in Latin America. They started targeting young people with the great product with only credit cards. And then they moved to the digital banking offering and also offering more products and basically beyond. What they did also aligned with the end-to-end experience that actually brought to my attention the most is how they focus on customer experience in terms of not only providing a nice app, an easy app that you could do it, but also they revolutionized the way how banking in Brazil actually treated the customers afterwards in terms of communication, in terms of how to solve issues, in terms of really putting the customer in the center of their decisions, in the center of their processes. So I think that's a business model that keeps bringing innovation to the banking industry in Latin America.
Nubank, very good example. Scott, do you have any more thoughts?
I think the other side of the spectrum, like big corporates sort of taking control of the financial services, rather than just offering loans from some bank, they're able to offer, again, advances to their suppliers, sort of buy now, pay later options to their customers, but themselves, not just going through bank X and offering a link to an application at the bank, like controlling end to end all of the financial services. That's actually the direction that I definitely think things will move. And it's, again, when each one has their own, and we empower that sort of thing, right? I mean, a really big corporate can manage to set this kind of thing up. I mean, look, the auto industry, right? I mean, they're a lot of their profits come from their financial services arms, which are parts of the company, but many of them maybe don't want to bother with that, and then they can be enabled to offer this stuff white label on their own through a platform like us. That's definitely something I see developing more and more. And there's so many touch points, right? There's the customer, there's the suppliers, there's the ability to offer even bank accounts and things like this if the brand is big enough. So yeah, definitely, I think bigger corporates just taking total control of the financial services side themselves is something we'll see in the next 5 years.
Hey, thank you very much for those answers. So today we've covered a lot of ground, haven't we? Just to give a little summary, we've talked about how they're in the financial services and banking industry. There's the number of players is growing, and how innovation is basically being organized around customer centricity in many different ways. So thank you, Scott and Marina, for being on the podcast. And do you have any last remarks? Anything you wished you said but didn't? Any examples that maybe came to your mind but you didn't speak about?
No, not really. Yeah, I think we covered some good topics.
Also, not from my side. Thanks.
Cool. Thanks.
You've just been listening to Unbundling Embedded Finance, your insight into the future of financial services. Today's guests were Marina Fernandes, Head of Product, and Scott Donnelly, Senior Vice President of Product for Lending and Digital Assets. And on the next episode, we'll cover banking tech from front to back. Thanks for listening, and until next time.